PFL number 10 championship. These are the full card predictions, the betting breakdown, and the weigh-in recap. Much love to everybody tuning in. Smash that like button. Let's get at least 120 likes on this PFL full card breakdown. Subscribe to the channel. If you guys are new, turn those post notifications on as well. And let's talk about the first fight of the night. It is Madge versus Nathan Williams. With Williams, you have a guy who has lesser high-level experience. Madge should be a familiar name and face if you follow the UFC. He was 2-0 there before getting released. He was actually supposed to fight Garam Kudaladzé over the summer, visa issues and whatnot. Now gets signed by the PFL for a big showcase fight here. And I mean, not a bad idea. Could potentially win $1 million. I have Madge winning this fight. I'll give you guys the pick right out the gate. And there's some fair reasons why. He's a tricky southpaw who's very good in the clinch. His style is going to be forward pressure, get you in the clinch, work towards takedowns, get that top position. He's a solid wrestler. Nathan Williams on the opposite side, jumping up from 145 pounds. He's also 34, not necessarily an older guy, but never has been at that top level. He's a slick striker, though, and does have knockout power. I'd say he's a pretty good athlete. He's pretty fast, but a different matchup here. This is not going to be an easy fight. Smaller than Madge. He's going to be weaker inside of clinch situations. It's going to be Madge's fight. You got to go with the UFC veteran who was 2-0 in the UFC, and I mean, you look at the recent win for him. It was 2 years ago. It was against Faraz Ziem, who's a good prospect inside of the UFC. So Madge, he should win here. I do think he gets it done. Win by a submission. I'm feeling second or third round. Looking at the odds, Madge is huge. Minus 649, plus 540 at best value. Let's see here. Madge wins by submission would be a bet that I'm intrigued by because he does have a pretty good ground game, but potentially could get a TKO as well. Plus 215. Madge KO TKO plus 150. Madge inside the distance minus 163. He's expected to win inside the distance here, and obviously the bookies know this. I have the strong favorite getting it done. If I had to give you a play prop inside the distance, but value-wise, maybe lean towards that submission. Let's go Madge, and I really see high likelihood of him winning. And also the weigh-in too, right? He came in 55. His opponent a little bit under the limit at 53.6. It shows he's actually a featherweight, and he's jumping up for this light heavyweight matchup. Let's keep on moving up the card. Second fight of the night. Former champion in Bellator, Julia Budd takes on Kaitlin Young. I have Budd winning the fight, and this is actually a really good signing here. A smart signing, truthfully, to bring Julia Budd on and give her a fight that I see as highly winnable here against Kaitlin Young. With Kaitlin Young, I mean, I'm not going to say she has a bad game. I mean, she's a decent Thai-style striker, has a good amount of pro experience, but 12-11 record, not great. Julia Budd has fought the top of the top girls in Bellator. Now jumping over, yes, it's up a weight class. Naturally, she'd be fighting at 145. Still, lots of advantages here. I think Budd is the better striker, the superior grappler, and just the better, well-rounded fighter. She has that championship level. Both guys on the wrong side, or excuse me, both ladies on the wrong side of 35. That is, potentially a factor for Budd moving forward in the tournament next year. Maybe she gets, a place there, but who knows? We'll see what happens with Kayla Harrison and whatnot, but I think Budd could be a factor. She wins here. I think Budd works towards a hard-fought decision. Wasn't crazy about either girl's last performance. If you look at Young, it was Mariana Moraes. She barely won a split decision, or excuse me, she lost a split decision, barely lost a split decision, but Moraes, not necessarily, the top of the line girl, bit undersized, but on the opposite side, struggled with Diana Silva winning a somewhat controversial split. Budd wins by decision. The odds, of course, are going to be widespread. Minus 427, plus 380. I think Budd win by decision. That's minus 145, the expected outcome. Fight goes the distance, minus 240. I like Budd win by decision, and I think highly likely that that's the method of victory here. Let's keep on moving up. Let's go to an exciting matchup for Omari Akhmedov, now jumping over to the middleweight division in PFL after being a longtime UFC staple. He takes on Jordan Young, who's a solid prospect. Different level here. Akhmedov is going to put a pressure attack on him that I think he'll struggle to deal with. You look at his last fight for Jordan Young, it was a loss against a guy in Tom Lawler who has been out of his prime for some real time. Omari Akhmedov just lost a split decision to a ranked guy in the UFC, Brad Tavares. This is Akhmedov's fight. He's durable. He's got great forward pressure. He does have dangerous hooks, though not much of a finisher. He's going to look to get this fight to the floor, secure top position, and control. Jordan Young on the opposite side is a nasty submission guy. Like, I mean, he's got slick subs, most of his wins by submission, but he's going to struggle with that pressure forward style of Akhmedov. He's not going to be able to hurt him with punches, though he has some real physical advantages here. It's going to be an Akhmedov fight here. Omari Akhmedov win by a unanimous decision. I see him beating Jordan Young fairly handily here. Minus 560, plus 500. Some ugly bets early on in the night. Akhmedov wins by decision. Minus 125. Let's see Akhmedov submission. That'd be plus 550. Young's submission defense should be there, but the pressure of Akhmedov will be way too much. And we have Akhmedov. He wins the bout by a decision. Let's keep on moving up this PFL championship card to our first title fight. He's on the prelims. That's crazy. We got title fights on the prelims. Loik Radzhabov versus Raush Manfio. I like Raush Manfio at the weigh-ins. He was chiseled, shredded. He's ready to go here. And it's a matchup that I'm pretty excited to see because I think that Raush Manfio is a good prospect. And I mean, now I guess championship level, but I'm thinking like, you know, long-term UFC potential. Manfio definitely has that. It's not that Loik Radzhabov isn't a good fighter. Radzhabov is a pressure wrestler. He's going to look to clinch up, get inside, get you to the floor, and control you. Whereas Manfio, more well-rounded game, does have decent grappling in his own right. Good pressure striking, solid boxing skill set. A little bit on the more basic side, but basic technique tends to be beautiful and can take you far. He's skilled standing up. I mean, he can put a good pace and pressure. I think he'll outstrike Loik Radzhabov. Radzhabov will look to wrestle. I think he'll be surprised at Manfio's defense, his physical strength, and I think Manfio will win this bout by a decision. I do expect a 5-round fight here between these two, and I got Raush Manfio, the underdog, winning it. He's at plus 195. Loik Radzhabov minus 219. I will say the physical shape of Manfio does impress me, and I really feel like he'll be ready for 5 rounds here. Looking at the odds, over 2.5, minus 265. Fight goes the distance, minus 190. Manfio wins a decision, plus 325. I think that's what happens here, but he's a good money line underdog play. I like Manfio. I like him to win here, and I do think decision, and he wins that $1 million and gets himself a PFL belt as well. Keep on moving up, and this is the featured prelim bout, another championship fight. We're looking at 5 good rounds here between these two light heavyweights. Antonio Carlos Jr., Marthin Hamlet. I like Antonio Carlos Jr. to win this fight here. If you look at the face-off, Carlos Jr., similar size, if not a little bit bigger than Hamlet. Hamlet being the more natural light heavyweight, I don't think we'll have a strength advantage clinching up with Antonio Carlos Jr. He's able to use his wrestling a lot against lesser guys, but Carlos Jr. is a master of submission. This man is excellent on the ground. You look at his stand-up game, Carlos Jr. has improved a good amount over the years, good forward pressure, striking, and as I mentioned, I mean, the jiu-jitsu is going to be fantastic here. Hamlet needs to be cautious. He has a questionable gas tank. He got finished by Corey Hendricks, I believe. That was what his last fight, or 2 fights ago rather, which he lost the submission in a fight that he was winning. So I feel like here he is going to put a high pace on Carlos Jr. He probably has to look to strike a bit more. I don't know if you want to get too tangled up with Carlos Jr. I believe he eventually will, though. He'll be forced to. I believe he'll be tired towards the 3rd and 4th round. I have 4th round submission, Antonio Carlos Jr. here. Looking at the odds, Carlos Jr. minus 172, Marthin Hamlet plus 168. Let's look at the potential props to play here. Carlos Jr. to win inside the distance, minus 110, but I like him by submission. Carlos Jr. submission, plus 140, plus 125. That's kind of the expected method. Let's see Carlos Jr. wins round number 4, plus 1,600, round 3, plus 1,000. Maybe a sprinkle play both of those. I have Carlos Jr. for the win over Marthin Hamlet Nielsen, and he will grab himself a Bellator belt and $1 million. Pretty amazing, these $1 million tournaments. Now, let's jump to the main card. If you guys have not, smash the hell out of that like button. Subscribe. If you're new, turn those post notifications on. You don't want to miss a video. Keep it locked in here at MMA Experts. Let's talk about it. The first fight on the main card 145-pound championship. It's Movlid Khaybulaev versus Chris Wade. I think Movlid's going to win here, but damn, Chris Wade's a good fighter, and this is actually a solid test for Movlid. Let's see how good he really is. Unbeaten guy, granted, did have one quick stoppage a while back, which was overturned to a no contest. That was the Daniel Pineda fight, but doesn't matter here. I don't think that's going to be relevant to this matchup. Chris Wade is a smooth striker. He's super fast. He has finishing ability for sure. Comfortable in both stances. Moves extraordinarily well. He's a high-level athlete. And honestly, I do think striking-wise, he's got some clear advantages over Movlid. Movlid is a beast grappler. Decent stand-up game too, though. We can't sleep on him standing up. But great forward pressure. Great control against the cage. Excellent takedowns. When he gets on top, he will grind you out. I do expect Movlid to grind a decision win over Chris Wade. It's not an easy one, but I do see him pulling it off here. Nothing on the scales really changed my opinion about this fight, and I think Movlid Khaybulaev should get the victory and earn himself $1 million in that PFL tournament crown. -167, +168. I'm liking Movlid here. Let's see what props are available here. Over 3.5, -225. They're expecting this fight to go late here. -185, fight goes the distance. Khaybulaev to win by a decision, which would be, I think, the prop that would be most likely of cashing here would be +138 at best value, around that +120 range. Khaybulaev win by decision, but expect a gutsy performance out of Chris Wade, but I don't see him getting it done here. Movlid for the victory. Let's jump to the second fight on this main card. Heavyweight rematch, Bruno Cappelozza, Ante Delija. Good finalist fight. I mean, if you look at Ante Delija, he got starched quickly against Cappelozza the first time they fight. I do expect Cappelozza to win again here. Not as quickly as the last time. Delija is going to be prepared for Cappelozza's explosive power. I do expect Delija to be more patient in his approach. He needs to keep that high guard up. I expect him to try to wrestle. Delija is a very good wrestler. Excellent top control. Good submission game. His stand-up's not bad, but when you have a guy like Cappelozza on the opposite side, there's levels. He is a dynamite puncher. Some of the best knockout power, maybe outside of the UFC, period. Massive hooks. He starts extraordinarily fast. But he also has solid grappling. We can't sleep on Cappelozza. I don't see him as a one-trick pony. He's a well-rounded guy, and Cappelozza's going to win by knockout in this fight. I do believe second-round knockout. I don't think it's as quick as that first fight. I don't think he goes out there and starches him, in the first opening minute, but I do think Cappelozza wins by KO. Round number 2, beating Delija for a second time and winning that $1 million. Now, looking at the odds, it's funny how they shifted. It was huge favorite Delija last time, and now big underdog Delija. He's sitting at +175 at best value. Cappelozza -179. We know the prop for Cappelozza KO probably won't be amazing. It's -125. It's the most expected outcome. I do believe that will happen here. Cappelozza wins in the second round. It's +425. A third round, I think it's less likely. If we go later, who knows? Delija could surprise us all, gassing out Cappelozza and finishing him late in the fourth, but I think that's unlikely. I don't think he'll be able to withstand the power for long. I think the under 2.5 is likely at -215. I think Cappelozza KO, TKO, round number 2, and I think he grabs himself that PFL belt. Good heavyweight rematch, though, and I am excited to see how it goes down for a second time. Now, the featured bout of the night. Boxing legend Claressa Shields takes on Abigail Montes, the greatest female boxer of all time. She is amazing with her stand-up game. And in mixed martial arts, that knockout power is going to be real. The problem is, how does she deal with somebody like Montes? I have Montes winning this fight. If you look at Montes' skill set, you have a kickboxer with good forward pressure. She has nice low kicks and she mixes in the punches well. Has boxing experience, obviously not at that level of Claressa Shields, but I think at a competent level to time her wrestling fantastic. She's shown decent wrestling. She's shown good control from the top position. Heavy ground and pound. Now, factor is she's jumping 2 weight classes. You see, she was previously 135. She's fighting a bigger girl than Claressa Shields. She's a little bit shorter, but when you saw them face off, not that much of a height difference. I think there's some mismarkings on the height there. Montes is taller or Claressa Shields is shorter than listed here on Tapology. I think Shields gets put to the floor And instead of what Elkin did, just retaining top position and not getting the finish, I think Montes finishes her. She's a young, hungry girl, and I bet beating one of the best boxers ever, especially best female ever, is going to be an absolute dream of the Mexican fighter Abigail Montes. I think she gets a first-round finish on the ground. Now, how does she finish it? I think rear naked choke, ground and pound will be thrown. I think it's going to cause Shields to, close up, start covering, and then a submission gets linked in. And let's remember, Claressa Shields has a boxing match scheduled for not too long out from this fight. Let me see exactly when it is, because this is a factor. She is fighting not even 2 months later in a championship boxing fight. That's a factor. She's not fully dove in to just mixed martial arts. She's definitely going to be better probably than her last fight, but Montes, different level. Pure mixed martial artist. I am going with her. Win, submission, round number 1, and it will be an upset. Looking at the odds, minus 293, plus 260. I like that plus money underdog. I'm going Montes. We're going Team MMA here. Montes to win by a submission, sitting at plus 1,000. That is a steal. Potentially bet that. Montes KO TKO plus 1,100. Potentially bet that. These are great sprinkle props. Could she win all 3 rounds and get a decision? Sure. I think that's actually possible as well. Montes is a decent girl. She's 2-0. She's got that experience. She's a pure mixed martial artist. She's going to beat Claressa Shields, especially with Shields still focusing on boxing a bit. Montes, win, submission, round number 1. Co-main event of the evening. It's another rematch on the card. Magomedkerimov versus Ray Cooper III. I do think Magomed beats him again. I don't think it'll be as easy as that first fight. It's not going to be that quick second round guillotine. I think Cooper will recognize that if he puts his neck out there, he could potentially get caught in something, man. That would be trouble for him. Magomed's a rangy striker with an excellent wrestling game. He starts fast. He's going to put good forward pressure on you, clinch you up, put you against the cage, works for trips and takedowns from there. Persistent ground and pound, sneaky submissions. Ray Cooper on the opposite side, dangerous boxer. He's a skilled wrestler in his own right, good defensively, but there's a different level here. Cooper's going to look to close distance and land big shots early. He's probably looking for that first round knockout. He's a heavy puncher, and he knows the longer it goes, the more Magomedkerimov gets going, the quicker this fight gets out of his hands. Decision, Magomedkerimov is what I'm thinking here, and I do think it will be a pretty one-sided, but still moments for Ray Cooper performance. I don't think Magomed gets to finish this time out, though. The odds, minus 200, plus 185. I like that minus 200 tag for the favorite here. Let's see. Magomedkerimov wins by decision, plus 150. I do think Magomed wins a decision, plus 150 there. Over 2.5, minus 215. Over 3.5, minus 155. Some decent bets you could prop up, but I do have Kerimov as a confident pick here. I think he gets it done. Win by decision. Let's jump to the main event. And if you guys haven't yet, smash the hell out of that like button. Kayla Harrison, the star of PFL's women's mixed martial arts. She's a huge name outside of the UFC for women's MMA. Takes on Taylor Guardado, a strong girl, a tough girl, a girl that fought Ronda Rousey earlier on in her career in the amateur ranks. Taylor Guardado's a good striker. She's more so a wrestler for sure, but she has a decent pressure-style boxing game. Mixes in takedowns extraordinarily well. 3-0 in PFL on a nice 3-fight win streak. She's done well for herself, but she's fighting against Kayla Harrison, who is an absolute killer. Amazing judo practitioner, decent stand-up game that's ever improving, super heavy on top, nasty submissions. It's going to be the Kayla Harrison show. I have Kayla Harrison win, submission, round number 2, potentially armbar. That would be like a Mystic Mac pick. Wouldn't be shocked if she also gets a TKO on the ground as well. Guardado will be tough, but this is a bit of a level difference matchup here. Guardado, still a prospect to watch, still has potential, but Kayla Harrison, I believe, will be too much. She will win this bout by a finish in the second round, and I do believe by submission. She looked confident at weigh-ins. It was an intense face-off, and she's a huge favorite. Look at that, minus 3,000 tag there. The odds are extremely widespread. Guardado plus 2,000 tag. I mean, maybe just for fun, you throw $1 on Guardado, but I don't think that's super likely. I think extremely unlikely. and I have Kayla Harrison win. I think bet-wise it would be inside the distance, but that's minus 820. Betting Kayla Harrison is just not appealing to me. Maybe you want to like try to perfectly bet it. Harrison, if she were to win by submission, plus money, plus 120. Maybe you could prop that up. Maybe you could also do minus 125 or even plus 100 for Harrison KO TKO. I think she wins it inside the distance, leaning submission though here, but wouldn't be shocked if it was a TKO as well. Overall, solid PFL championship card. I do want to throw parlay at you guys to finish this off. Let's see what we got here for a potential parlay to play. Now, I don't want to bring in these like crazy strong favorites because I just don't think the money is to be made there, and it would be worth, there would be too much of a risk, you know, to be worth that value. All right, let's add in Carlos Jr., Movlid, Magomed, plus 230. If you went crazy and added in Montes, plus 1,087. Hail Mary play right there. Definitely a possibility of cashing if you want to go nuts. Maybe you could play that plus 1,686, but you probably want to do two-fighter parlay. You could go, you know, Magomedkerimov, Movlid, Khaybulaev. These two right here, I think both have high likelihood of victory, and that's plus 120. If you're feeling that same confidence I am in Bruno Cappelozza, but it is heavyweight, so it's a tricky fight. You could do it. That'd be plus 231. Great value there. If you want to add a dog in like Montes, plus 1,000. Maybe you're going nuts. You want to add in two dogs. You want plus 3,000. You can go crazy with these parlays. Personally, my recommendation, two-fighter parlays. If you want to do like a Hail Mary play where you're just throwing a little bit of money at it, you could do something like this. But don't go nuts. Don't throw a ton at a five-fighter parlay and expect it to be a guaranteed casher because the fight game is crazy, especially PFL. But on this championship card, I think there's going to be a fair amount of favorites getting the W's here. Overall, exciting action. I hope you guys enjoyed. Make sure you smash that like button. Subscribe if you are new to the channel. Turn those post notifications on so you do not miss a video. Keep it locked in, baby. Much love to everybody supporting. I really do appreciate every single one of you. Thank you all so much. See you all in the next video. Peace, guys.